Is 2023 the 2020 for the sky? Take down Operation Space Fence. Is 2023 the 2020 for the sky and Earth? Take down Operation Space Fence and just say no to genocidal geoengineering. Just say no more weather war. It's a genocide on all organic life and a crime. Is it the biggest crime of all time or what they did in 2020? Which is a bigger crime? What do you think? Do you agree that if you were a farmer in Santa Cruz County during the atmospheric river, and you lost everything, you see, space fence and geoengineering is all the same thing to me. It's weather modification. It's the addition of heavy metals, nanotech, and lithium into the sky, other things, chemical agents to control the weather, to cool it down. Some days they seem to do a great job, and you have to think, if you had literally sold your soul to the devil to become the richest person in the world, you could just think of yourself as really clever and a really good altruist to actually have cooled it down 20 degrees in these hot regions, but in the process blocking out the sunlight, in this case for days at a time and for months at a time. The beginning of this year, it perhaps is the most overt crime in your face of all time. I could feel all my 3 or 4 different deadly diseases growing back that I hadn't 100% gotten rid of. Oh, I could feel them still. And the sun being my number one healing agent. As Charlie Chaplin said, the sun, the number one doctor. I had to take a tea break right on 3-day tea break right in the middle of the weather weapon. So, wow, I still have to forgive myself for I actually had a schizo episode. I identify as a sacred clown, but then, as Don Miguel Ruiz said, if you're a spiritual warrior and you're not 100% the enlightened master, then some days you're in hell, and some days you're in heaven. And that I can simply tell you that something exists. As Jerry Garcia said, the storyteller has no choice. Soon you will not hear his voice. His job is to shed light, not to master. Is that a bad idea or just being honest? Well, you see, honesty has been my boon and bane in this existence because I'm willing to speak. But fortunately, the dark side's response to this, to me taking the time to mark on this hoodie like this, was to lay off finally. I was worried they were going to go for the whole Cali roots, but just yesterday. So yeah, I have to say that the space fence, as well as the nanotech nanobot blood clot shots, they all have the hydras, and the hydras, I just learned this recently, this term. The hydras is a snake-like substance that's in there, that it's also in the dump in the sky, that it's going to go to wherever you're weak in your body. It's going to go to any weak spot. And so that's why, I would like to say, oh wow, this is great. They're making a cool breeze on me, but I know that this has nanotech in it. So, is 2023 is 2023 the 2020 for the skies? It is, huh? And so, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to deal with this? What is humanity going to do in response besides geoengineeringwatch.org and geoengineering YouTube page and my videos here? Some of which I feel that the dark side is intentionally not um, spread on other platforms, but I'm going to stick with this one. So I haven't tried too many of them, but this is an unscripted, totally spontaneous talk here, and I have to say that oh, thankful to begin to feel my soul back on me here a little bit. Uh, Relying on only this gadget and meditation, with no cannabis and no sunlight for days was quite the. I would say I failed. I would say I failed the test, and of course I passed it in other days. That one day I failed, but they sure were beaming a heavy one at me. And yeah, could easily make me say I qualify, and but at the other end of the spectrum, it could easily make me say, see how heavily I was being targeted. Both is true. You see, um, my Mercury's in Capricorn retrograde. When you can see outside of the box, when you see around the matrix, when you can see, oh, this is something I was thinking about. I really despise space fence, but yet, and I feel we must organize to remove this. There are, I almost also feel like I have to congratulate them because they say it was operational last year. Space fence was operational last year. Go to YouTube and look at Lockheed Martin's page on YouTube about space fence. And since Google took over YouTube gradually and more extreme lately, it's been, as the new CEO said, for the authoritarians only, the big boys, the people that are really serious capitalists, really only. And I'm not allowed, but to, they might think this video was too much of a conspiracy. Say that I was breaking their community guidelines and give me a month off or some bullshit. Because it's a political game, between the Christ and the reptiles, and I'm not going to support these inverted ones. But I certainly do feel that the potential for even those beings that are behind this insane space fence to realize that the actual respectful, sacred Christ is the real creator, not their. But however, you see, they're all ego, they're all separation, they're all stay 666. Google, YouTube, Lockheed Martin. As I've said in previous transmissions, the Fed bailed them out. I mean, they went bankrupt, but the Fed had no problem bailing them out before I was born. And it was probably because they wanted to, you know, eventually to run weapons like this on us. They're already running weapons on us, and I just got done with a heavy study about the Course in Miracles, and wow, I read that whole text, and it's amazing, how it was a CIA operation, the whole thing, and it's really obvious, but to take a step back, and anyway, I diverge, but not necessarily, because the point is that we have all these invisible genocides happening at once, right? But it's all intentional. It's all the very most intense phases, and they don't want it to be bombs and guns because that's been done, 2 or 3 wars before: World War I, World War II, World War III, and with folks such as Hitler, it becomes harder for the dark to hide their, but when they use Hitler's the parts that he won, the mind control, the ability to organize mass killing, we have the organized 2020 mass formation, psychosis, suicide, lemmings, Hollywood lemmings style ritual, lining up at the doctor to take these blood clot nanobot self-replicating graphene dioxide and nanotech self-replicating colony injections. And now, we see this so-called atmospheric river. Now, where'd that term come from? I think it gave it the off-worlders gave it to their puppets and their slaves, like Bill Gates, and said this is the term to use, because they like the flood after Atlantis. And what's happening now, tragically, in my kin's house is, because of Operation Space Fence, it's going to force the flooding. We already have seen an entire town in Louisiana has been evacuated due to flooding. Parts of Louisiana, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, they're going to go into the ocean in the next couple of years, because when they block out the sun, okay, these weather weapons, and rain exaggerations, and they could cause this one cat told me, they could cause a tsunami if they wanted to, but no. Yes. But understanding that the dark wants to, the evil aliens and their puppets want to not, even though they've already been caught 100 times in the last 3 years in different ways, and they bribed so many people. It's like I made up this chant: lockstep was made of bribes and threats. And so, someone named Rockefeller's 2010 report that said, if we can design a virus deadly enough, we can lock down the world and take over. And so, but around that time, perhaps they also realized that they could push the geoengineering phenomenon to the point of this layer, so that even when it's sunny and beautiful like this, there's actually a layer of programmable nanotech that cools it down to a nice, 65 or 70 degrees instead of 83. And so everybody will think it's cool till there's, more and more of these days of white and gray skies, till it's more and more and more basically nanotech, heavy metal, nanoparticle demonization take over the whole, they took over the ionosphere. Now it's operational. The next is, the more that these spike protein self-replicating nanobot and graphene dioxide colonies grow in our relatives and friends' bodies, and then they can, not just as a sleeper agent, but of course there's a lot of loose feeding going on, a lot of accidents, not just the convulsions, not just the famous athletes who fell, when they ran, when these things were growing in their body and they ran and died and had a heart attack, and all the children who died of had myocarditis, not just that, but the more subtle versions where we have to deal with all these people losing their ability to discern the connection between their heart and their mind, the 4D, 2D zeta split that many of us, especially around the West Coast here, have gone through. Now, those people have it growing more. And so we have to deal with all of these issues and remember the sacred Christ is in all. And we are the second coming of the Holy Ghost, all of us. We are all a part of it. And we are going to bring the peaceful golden age in the sacred now. But only if and when we have the courage to stand up and just say no more AI takeover. We love to use these gadgets, but we have to use them at a respectful distance, and take tolerance breaks and have discipline. Many blessings and one love, my family, and give thanks for your taking back our bodies, minds, and souls